Lunch and Learn is gonna be with Daniel Thompson and Penny Fletcher and DJ Urban. They're gonna give you some information on advertising and using technology to get your business and information out there to people, more people, and quicker.
Morning, everyone. Daniel Thompson, I'm the president and CEO of the Corner and OnTimeAds.com. We're here to discuss internet marketing for your business. A lot of people are not very very up to date with the process. Marketing has changed because we no longer live the same way. We're no longer sitting around watching our televisions. We are no longer sitting around listening to our radios. As a matter of fact, most people try to avoid commercials. Internet marketing has become a very, very important tool for businesses. One of the first things that we'd like to discuss is who your market is. Advertising isn't going to do us any good if we don't know who we're supposed to market to. As business owners, it is not a situation where we just build it and they'll come. We have to know who we're actually targeting to, who our consumers are, who's going to buy the services and products that we actually have. Here in Western Kentucky, we have a great resource. We have Lake Barkley, we have Kentucky Lake. So a lot of our business is tourism. A lot of the people that are going to frequent our establishments are tourists. With that, there's a certain demographic of people that are our tourists. The prime market that everybody wants to head for, that has the most disposable income, is from the ages of 18 to 35. However, even though we want that market, that is not for all of our businesses. Prime example would be Kentucky Opry. Kentucky Opry has an older demographic. There are not very many 18 to 35s that are actually going to the Kentucky Opry. So for each one of us individually, it's important that we understand exactly who we are selling our services and products to. We need to know where these people are at. We have a huge influx in Western Kentucky, in Lyon County, particularly the lakes, from Evansville, Indiana. There's a large market in Nashville. People are coming here for the lakes purposefully. We have roughly 8 million people come to the north ends of these lakes every year. We had 2.1 million people go through the north ends of the Trace 2 years ago. We only have roughly 8,500 people in Lyon County. Our market is not just our local market, Lyon County. We need a venue to be able to advertise to the people that are our customers. The age of our tourists here is actually not the 18 to 35. The biggest age bracket that we have coming to the lakes is from 35 on up into about 65. That is our demographic. Those are the people that we want to aim towards. And it's not everyone in that demographic by any means. It's the people that actually have the expendable income. So therefore our demographic also considers an income bracket. It's very specific. The way that we've been advertising doesn't necessarily work. Anybody that's here from the radio is probably going to be upset with this.
Oh, come on, don't pick on her, just met her.
Radio works well, y'all, it really does, but it has to be targeted. We have to be very specific. Once we know who our market is, how do we reach that market? With radio, with print, and with television, the only way that it works is either to spend millions of dollars so that you're on there constantly, like Flow is. Everybody knows who Flow is, and they spend a lot of money. Everybody knows AT&T. They spent $1.59 billion last year so that everybody knows who they are. Here in Western Kentucky, we don't have $1.59 billion to be able to spend, so that everybody knows that. So therefore, this becomes a shotgun blast for us. We have so many ads spread out throughout the day, and we hope and pray that in the middle of that day, we might be able to catch our consumer. It's not very concentrated, and it's not targeted at all. With the internet, with social media, with websites, what we run into is we're finding people that are actually looking for us. It's more targeted. They're actually looking to find our services and our products. That's made us competitive worldwide due to the internet. We can also use apps. Apps are a big thing. Everybody's on their phone constantly these days. I've got a great picture from my advertising firm. We did some, we have the guest pagers at Patty's. We advertise on the tab on those. There's a gentleman who walked over and he got the guest pager, and he went over and he sat down and he read that thing front and back, and all of a sudden he's on his phone because it was an advertisement for Country Chevrolet. He was sitting there playing with his phone while he was waiting for however long at Patty's, working through the website. We were able to target and find that consumer. Not so easy with the shotgun blast advertising that all of us are used to. But again, the way that we live has changed. We don't have as many people watching TV these days. We don't have as many people reading newspapers these days. It's all internet marketing. If they want to read about the news, they're going to look at it on their phone, or they're going to go look it up on their computer. We need to, as a whole, concentrate our advertising dollars. We need to, instead of have the shotgun blast, we need to learn who we're advertising to. We need to learn where they are. And we need to start directing our advertising dollars in a fashion that actually catches those consumers, rather than hitting everyone and hoping and praying that we might be able to catch our consumer. With that being said, we're going to go ahead. This is DJ Irvine. He's our VP of Marketing. He's going to discuss social media.
Everybody, I'm DJ Irvin. I was formerly the promoter and general manager of Kentucky Lake Motor Speedway until the state of Kentucky decided that they wanted that. And one of the big things I used out there was social media to reach who we were wanting to come to the races, things like that. And that was, we used a mix of radio, print, and social media. And really, social media was where we got our biggest feedback from. And it can be important, you want to use social media to drive traffic to your website. It's a cheaper alternative than traditional media can be. Then the networks that you're going to use, they're quickly growing. It's a form of two-way communication with your consumers. Instead of just pushing it out, you're getting some feedback from them. And it's also right in their hands. And I'll go a little more into detail on each of those. You want to drive traffic to your website. That's really the main point of social media, is to drive traffic to your own website, to get them more involved in what you're doing, to get your message out that's on your own webpage. Which you'll use, it can, it'll increase your site traffic. I know a lot of you may have counters on your website. Before we would do a post, if I posted something on the Kentucky Lake Speedway's website, it may have 50 views. That's just the people that are constantly checking your website, see what's going on, drivers, things like that. So they're always going to. Now, as far as the fans, after I put it on social media, within about 2 or 3 hours, that 100 turned into 1,000. It was really quick, and I use targeted advertising through Facebook for that. And you'll also use front links, which they're the direct link to your website. That'll be in your bio, your About Me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. That's your direct link. And you'll also have backlinks, which, if you're posting a new status, something that you want to tie in a link to your website that explains more about that status, give them a teaser. Don't give them all the information right up front on Facebook. Make them go find the rest of it, click to your website where you can get them more involved and more directly in with your business. And those backlinks are going to help your search engine optimization. That's going to help you grow, rise up in the Google, Bing, anything like that, those rankings. Because the more time your link is on the internet and the more time it's clicked, that makes Google happy, that makes Bing happy, you're going to rise up to that front page. It is a cheaper alternative. Starting the pages don't cost you anything, just a little bit of your time. Most of them can be set up pretty efficiently in about an hour or two, no problem. Facebook and Twitter also, they provide analytics. Once you get a solid Facebook, I think you have to reach 100 likes on Facebook, and then it's going to start generating reports for you. It'll break it down how old they are, by the city they're in, everything like that, what language they speak, where they're at, when they're online, when they're most active online, and how often they interact with your page specifically. Then you can also boost posts. That means you are spending money to have Facebook send it out just a little bit farther. Typically, you'll see, for example, I had about 12,000 likes, or no, 10,000 likes at the beginning of the season in 2015 for Kentucky Lake. I was spending roughly about $100 a week on Facebook, and that would increase every week. I would increase by 200 likes. Now, organically, you're probably going to reach 5 to 10% of your fan base. Once you start boosting those posts, you're going to reach more and more, a higher percentage. I was usually reaching about 50% for roughly $10 a post. That $10 will be spread out over 24 hours. You can set it to do multiple days, things like that. And a little goes a long way. Budget of $10 to $50, that's going to increase your reach by over 1,000 every week. And of those 1,000, you're likely going to get 10% of them to go ahead and hit that like button, and then that's just going to grow your organic reach. As that fan base grows, your organic reach is going to grow as well. The networks are growing. The MAU is monthly active users. Facebook is the largest. It has 1.55 billion, with a B, active users every month. There's over 2 billion accounts created. A lot of those, you'll see some robots, things like that do get through. Facebook did a good job. About a year ago, they actually went through pages and gleaned all those that were deemed inactive accounts or robots or spam accounts were removed from pages. So that wasn't, so basically, what you were putting out there wasn't going to no one. Instagram, it's the quickest growing. It's up to 400 million. Twitter has 320. It is kind of plateaued. Twitter started out with a bang, but it's kind of plateaued and kind of slowed down as far as growth. Pinterest is a good one if you have a high female demographic. If that's who you're wanting to target to, that's where you need to go. Last I saw, it was 87% female was the user base of Pinterest. And then LinkedIn, which is a professional network, has 100 million monthly active users. And Snapchat, which is huge with millennials and 100% mobile, has 100 million monthly active users. Social media is a great way for two-way communication. When you're advertising on radio, print, TV, you're just sending a message out there hoping someone listens. And you're never going to hear from them. When you're on Facebook, you try to ask questions to your consumers, like, say, come out to the races, let us know what you think. They'll feedback. That's going to give you feedback, let you know how you're doing, what they're wanting to see from you, what you may want to change. It allows you to engage, be more personable with your consumers instead of just being a business with no face. It gives you a voice, and you can start to build a personal relationship with your consumers. Like I said, it will provide you real-time feedback. I know a lot of times at the racetrack we did some things that people didn't like, and I knew about it very quickly. Usually as soon as I got home, I would turn my phone off and wait until the next day because I just didn't want to hear it. It is in the phones of consumers. I think there's a printout on this. I hope you're able to see it. For the three networks that I'm going to go into is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook, roughly 68% of users are solely on their phones. They never get onto a desktop. With Twitter, you're 86%. And with Instagram, it is 98% mobile. I've honestly never been to Instagram's desktop website. I have no idea what it looks like. And these are the networks I'm going to go into. They are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. They are typically the biggest three you'll want to go into. There's also YouTube is another big one, but I skipped working. On Facebook, you will want to create a page. I've seen several businesses, different ones, they'll create a profile, just like myself. I have my own personal profile on Facebook. I'll see businesses do that. where they have to send you a friend request to do that. That is absolutely 100% against Facebook's terms of services. Typically, they're not going to catch it, but if someone reports it, they're going to shut you down really quick. Also, that goes same thing for a group. You can't create a group because then you can just add people into it at random. They're not volunteering to be in that group. You're just adding them to it, and Facebook considers that a violation of their terms of service as well. And if those are reported, they are going to be removed. You want to invite all of your friends on Facebook. Every personal friend you have, go ahead and invite them. Don't be ashamed to ask them and encourage your family and friends to share what you're posting up there. That's just going to help your organic growth. And that way you're not spending money to get that page to grow and be more active with the consumers. You'll want to generate original content. Don't just be one of these pages that just shares everything that everyone else is doing. Your consumers, they're probably going to see that somewhere else, and they're like, well, this page is just, and that's going to lead to them probably unfollowing your page, and you're just going to lose them. And once they lose you, once they say hi, they will never see anything you post ever again. No matter if you pay for it or anything, if they unfollow you, unfriend it, or not unfriend it, unlike it, they're never going to see anything that you post ever again. So you want to avoid them being spam, annoying, things like that. You want to engage with all of your fans. Anytime someone comments, at least give it a like. Let them acknowledge that they posted something. Even if it doesn't necessarily isn't a happy thought that they were giving you, go ahead and give them a like and even, you know, say something back. Say thank you for stopping by, thanks for the reply, thanks for the review, things like that. And then you'll want to follow these guidelines on Facebook. You want to post consistently at least once every 24 hours in order to maximize that organic reach I was talking about earlier. Because the more consistently you post, the more it's going to grow. The more people interact it, they'll show it to more people. They're like, okay, so 100 people like this. Facebook, the edge rank logarithm is going to go ahead and pick that up and start showing it to more and more people. If you miss a 24-hour cycle, you're going to lose all of that engagement that you went, and it's going to go back to reaching roughly 0.5% of your total fan base on Facebook. You want to use proper grammar, spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. Never type in all caps. Facebook considers that spam, and never start a sentence with a numeral. It makes your business look more professional. You don't want to seem just like, you know, a high school kid with, I guess text talk is what you would call it. And it's not about you, it's about your fans. Don't just, you know, talk about yourself. Talk about what are you offering to them? Why do they need to come see you? Why do they need your product? Why do they need your service? When posting a URL to go to even back to your website or any other content, once you put that in there, Facebook's going to automatically generate a box that's going to show a picture and information about that link. Once that auto-populates, delete that link, because that link's going to stay active. And then you can say whatever you need to say, do a little quib about what they're going to be going to. You want to keep your posts short. I think it's around 400 characters will stay above the cut line. Once you go past that, when people are scrolling on their mobile phone or on their desktop, it's going to cut that off and do a show more. So that way they're not getting your whole message. Because if they're just scrolling through there, bored, they're not going to likely hit show more or click on it or anything like that. You want to write and, you don't want to use multiple punctuation. Don't use a big string of exclamation points, question marks, anything like that. Facebook also considers that spam, and it will hide it from anyone's timeline. You want to write and follow a social media plan. Before you just dive in and start posting, think about what you're wanting to do. What kind of message are you wanting to convey, and what kind of personification are you wanting to give your brand or business? It goes a long way to just stick to a plan, know what you're doing, and have measurable goals. Because Facebook will show you how many people clicked on the link that you posted, how many people viewed the picture, how many commented, how many shared. You don't want to post back to back. Facebook will also consider that spam, and the logarithm will start kicking it out. You want to wait typically 3 to 4 hours between posting. I know, some news sites, me and Diane were talking about the West Kentucky Star earlier, something like that. They can break that because people are going to keep clicking on it. They want to read those news breaking stories. They can't help when the news happens. But if you're just a business, don't be posting all day long constantly. You want to wait 3 to 4 hours because you don't want to overpopulate, because people will start hiding your post if they see you all the time and don't really care. You never want to every comment should get a like or reply that lets them know that you care, that they're there, and that you want to build that relationship, personal relationship with them. You never want to require sharing when you do any kind of contest. Asking deliberately for a share is also against the terms of service. It goes unnoticed. I see a lot of pages that do that. But if anyone were to report it, Facebook can and will, I've seen it happen, they will shut down the page if you require a share in a contest. Now, if it's just something that's not a contest or a drawing, that's fine, ask them to share it. That's fair game. But anytime a contest is involved, you cannot require a share be a stipulation of that contest. You can ask them to like, comment, share a photo, or post a photo on your on that. And then you also want to let them know about costs and prices about your services. You want to follow a rule, though, of 1 in 7. Whenever you're posting things, you don't want things to be blatantly promotional. Build a relationship, start a conversation, ask them, what did you do this weekend, something like that, just to get some interest. And it's going to drive that organic reach as long as they're interacting with the page, and that's ultimately what you want, is to grow that organic reach. Because the bigger your fan base is, the higher the 5% is going to go out to a lot more than just, and then you don't have to pay for it. Ask about their own problems, solve their problems for them. Follow current events, things like that, and just solve people's problems for them. Ask what their problems are and how you can help. That just helps drive a conversation, and they'll reach out to you. They may message you, comment on there, and make sure you comment back. Have contests and drawings, for things that they can win, discounts, exclusive items, things like that. And you want to offer inside news and information about your business. Let them make them think they're getting something special that no one else knows. Then they'll feel more connected with that business. And you can ask best of questions or questions about the consumers personally. Get to know your fan base, your consumer base, get to know them on a personal level. Going to Twitter, it is a microblog. It consists of short bursts of information. You have a 140 character limit, but you can also share photos and videos on Twitter. Hashtags are really kind of what makes Twitter go. When you put a hashtag, which # in front of a word, that makes it searchable on Twitter. So someone can click on that and see every post that has that hashtag in it. And when you're wanting to do things like that, like for us, you've got Lake Barkley. You want to use hashtag Lake Barkley, hashtag Kentucky Lake, hashtag LBL, hashtag Lyon County, hashtag Eddyville, things like that. And anybody that's looking for things to do around here, they may search that hashtag, and there's everything you've posted. Typically, you want to use 2 hashtags. Research has showed that those get the most retweets, the most interaction on posts that use 2, and you never want to use more than 3. Once you start using 4 or 5 hashtags, it just doesn't help, and it actually hurts the analytics and everything of those posts on Twitter. You want to do a follow for follow. Everyone that follows your Twitter, follow them back. You don't have to ever look at what they post, but it makes them think that you care. And that's ultimately the goal of social media, is to build that personal relationship with all of these businesses, or with all these, build a relationship with your business to the consumer. And you want to share your Facebook updates on Twitter. But not vice versa, because then you can get into that spam thing on Facebook. You can tweet constantly, and you won't annoy anybody because they have so much going on, and that Twitter doesn't use any kind of logarithm or anything. It's chronological. When somebody's scrolling, they just see the first tweet of the account they followed first. And you want to engage with your followers as well. If they reply to you, reply back to them. Just keep that dialogue going and keep building that relationship. Another big one, and this one, it's growing like crazy. They're gaining, I want to say 250,000 users a month is what they've been averaging as far as gaining. It's strictly mobile picture sharing and 15-second videos that you can share on Instagram. They've got 400 billion monthly active users. And also, like Twitter, use those same hashtags. Same case, makes it searchable. If they can find it, use those same hashtags that I touched on earlier. Now on Instagram, use a lot more of them. You can typically use about 6. Is usually the highest rate of engagement is when posts use 6 hashtags. Again, follow for follow. Anybody that likes you, like them back, follow them. Engage with your followers. If they comment on your photos, comment back, like some of their photos when it's appropriate. Sometimes they may have an inappropriate photo, don't like that. And using all of this is only going to increase your search engine optimization. The ultimate goal is, of course, to get on that front page of any search listing. I think it's 85% of people never go past the first page of search results. So if you're not on the first page, you need to try everything you can to get there. And Penny is going to touch on some ways to help you do that. You want to build keywords into your website and also use backlinks. Then I'm briefly going to touch on mobile apps. They are not for every business. You have to really ask yourself, why do I need an app? What do I have to offer that someone would actually want on their phone? If you're just going to put on a menu, they can get that on Facebook. They can get that off anywhere. They can get that off your website. You don't need a standalone app. It is far too expensive to try to create an app just for that purpose. Roughly, a low-end app can cost $1,000 for development and up to $300 a month to maintain that app. It could be a possible revenue stream. If you do go down that avenue, you can sell advertising on your own app, which can actually create an additional revenue stream. Most apps, they need a gimmick. They need some reason, something that makes it useful to the consumer, or a little fun game, something like that, to make them really want, because that's just storage space on their phone that a lot of people don't have a lot of. An example of one is, I don't know if anyone has Domino's app. If you order from their app, they show you when that pizza goes in the oven, when it's done, and when it's on the way to your house. And if you want to be more prevalent on users' devices directly, look for local apps like KBS 12. They offer this to where you can advertise within their app. They use it for news, and then while they're reading a news story, boom, you'll pop up right in the middle of their screen. So to touch on more on your website and everything, I'm going to turn it over to Penny Fletcher, who is with the Kentucky Innovation Network.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, I'm just going to briefly talk about the website. Most of you probably have a website for your business. Raise your hand if you don't. Or if you work for a company do you work for a company that has a website? Okay, good. One of the things about a website, you want to make sure that it's visually appealing. One click is all it takes for potential customers or clients to leave your website. They have about 2 to 3 seconds that they'll choose if they're going to navigate through your website or not. Use your white space. Don't clutter up everything on the website. Use it as a design element so that people can see your clear message a little easier than it being cluttered with all kinds of words and images. And don't be afraid to consider that, because it's really important. And I would invest a little bit of money on some really good stock images. You don't have to take professional photos or spend a lot of money on it, but just make sure you have some really good photos, clear, high quality. Also, make sure that your website is mobile friendly, because most people are going to look at your website on their mobile phones as they're driving through town or before they drive through town. They want to know where they're going to go, what they want to see. So, and you already heard about how important mobile apps are now. And mobile, people are using those devices. I think it's more than 50% of all consumer searches lead to a buying decision that is done on a smartphone or iPhone. And did you know that Google will penalize you if you don't have a mobile-friendly website? You will not rank higher in the search engine. And all the algorithms that go behind the scenes, that is true. And so that means to make your website mobile compatible so that you'll rank up a little higher on that first page. Make your website easy for people to contact you. If you want to put several, email addresses, phone numbers, just display it so that all of that information is very clearly visible. And you may even want to put all of that information on every page of your website, maybe in your header or your footer, because they may navigate away from the home page where your contact information was. Another thing is the About Us page. Have you ever had people that knew all about you before you even knew them? They read about you on your About Us page? Well, that happens. Even Shay was telling me about that. People have read that she's from Georgia, and they know she's got 2 daughters, and she lives here, and some of her hobbies and things that she likes before they even know each other. So it is important because people still want to connect with people. And update your About Us page as much as you can. They don't like stale, old content. To make it fresh. It is actually one of the most common website pages of your website. Most people are going to go to that About Us page. So I think it's very important. They also want to know about your coworkers, your employees. So if you can add that information, I would do that too. And a call to action, that would be, you want people to buy, you want them to call me, shop now. Make sure it's clearly visible on your website. You can use buttons, you can just make it stated clearly where they're not, have a whole lot of information to go through to find the call to action. Because that's the ultimate reason why you've got a website, is for people to know what you have to offer and how they can contact you or how they can get that information or get that product. Also, we talked about search engine optimization, and I know that's a real technical word. There's a lot involved with that, but it's important to have keywords, the right keywords in your website. And you can do a search for this and make sure they're in your website clearly, but not too much, because if you have too many of those keywords, Google will kick it out. So you want to make sure your content that you have on your website is written the way you would want it. Don't put too many keywords in, but put enough keywords in that you're going to attract the right people. And there's a lot more information that can go into that. There's meta titles, there's meta tags, meta descriptions. So that's when you get really a little in deep, because when you talk about a website, there's a lot of really deep issues involved. Also, search indexing. Are you on, are some of these familiar to you? Yelp, YP, Yahoo Local, City Search, Angie's List, BD.org, and there's so many more. Make sure you're listed, because that'll help rank your website. You want it to really be on that first page when people do a search. You don't want them to go to second or third. Most people won't. So the more you are listed with directories, the better your website will be found. And another thing, if you all already have a website, you're probably already, Google has already found your website and has indexed it. But if you don't, make sure you go to, in Google, in the box, type in site, and like your website, chamberofcommerce.com or something like that. And it will tell you if other pages have been looked at, so it's been indexed. And you also want to make sure that you're found on Yahoo and Bing. And there's procedures to do that. It's pretty easy and it doesn't cost anything. So those are some things that'll help rank your website. So I could talk a little bit more. I think that's it gets really deep when you talk too much about website. And make sure your call to action, I would recommend putting it above the fold. And that's the top 1/3 of your website, of your page. Make it clear for people to find you. I'll turn it back over to Dan.
I know we just covered a lot of information in a very short time. There's a lot more to be had. This is just really touching the surface. Don't be afraid to go to your community college. Don't be afraid to get involved in some classes to learn more, because there's a scam stuff we can talk about for days with social media. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to jump in and try it. There's an awful lot of resources online. YouTube, you can learn anything on YouTube these days. And there are several different videos you can go in there and they will teach you all about SEO, social media. Don't be afraid to learn it. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you for your time.